Some kind of outrage was going on in the throne room. A court disciple started a scandal on the day of the coronation and beatification of the emperor's son. Yi Chen, that was his name, did not agree with this decision and even dared to be rude to the saints, saying that they take advantage of their position, oppress others, suck up to those who are stronger than them, and the emperor generally gives his daughter to a stranger, abandoning her to her fate. In a fit of rage, he said that if he did not get justice today, they could shove their titles and statuses of the Holy Land of Taixuan much deeper. Those present at the ceremony were outraged by the behavior of the disciple and considered him crazy, because by angering the saints he would bring trouble not only on his own head, but also on the heads of all those gathered. The angry Holy Lord recalled Yi Chen from the small town of Tankin, who had gone through a lot in the War of the Dynasties before becoming a court disciple in the sacred land of Taixuan. The emperor was outraged at how easily the disciple was willing to give up his title. However, Yi Chen continued to stand his ground, stating that he only wanted justice for the saint, that he could not contradict his father, and the disciple himself could not stand and watch as she was pushed to the mercy of fate. This statement angered the emperor's son, because as a simple disciple, he dares to snap and call the respected gentleman and the future husband of his sister an arbitrary fate. Even the young bride, who had been standing listlessly between her father and the groom, squinted at the latter. The young gentleman looked calm. His eyes were closed as if he was asleep. The pose was relaxed, open, but this made it even more majestic and aristocratic. One part of the long black hair was gathered into a high ponytail, the second lay quietly along the back. Only 2 strands at the temples were not thrown back and hung in front, framing a beautiful face with a red mark in the middle of the forehead. However, the groom is not so simple. He can be called a traveler between worlds and epochs. Waking up in a new environment, he found himself involved in an ambiguous situation. The name of the gentleman is Gu Chang, and, as it seems to him, he plays the role of a negative character. According to the law of the genre, he must play the right hand of the main villain, and such, by the way, are usually killed at the end. Gu Chang took a mug of tea from the table and began to drink it, simultaneously trying to figure out the incomprehensible system with its characteristics that appeared in front of him. According to the description in the system, there are 6 levels of Tailok: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, from lowest to highest. On average, an ordinary person has a red level, but as the young master sees, Yi Chen has a green level of luck. You can say he is the son of luck. Gu Chang's own level is black, as if hinting that villains don't live long. Yi Chen, outraged by the silence of the gentleman, asks who he thinks he is and where his tongue is, and even called him by name. The emperor's son, angered by the disciple's behavior, reproaches him for such behavior, asking who invited him to call the master by name. The guests of the event are also annoyed by his behavior. They decided to speak out, saying that Yi Chen was tired of living, provoking the holy masters over and over again, and that it was a terrible sin to be rude to them. The court disciple does not understand what is happening. Why everyone is on Gu Chang's side, because he is the future of the sect. He is the most talented among them all. He looks at King with horror. Even she doesn't say anything in his favor, even though they are very close to her. Young Mr. Gu noticed to himself that the disciple instantly lost confidence. He even became interested, but Yi Chen did not calm down. He kept shouting at Gu Chang that if he thinks that by keeping silent he will get away with it, then this is not so, and all he is capable of is only harassing weaklings. He crossed the permitted line, which the emperor noticed, and his son decided to force the disciple to apologize to Mr. Gu. Declaring his hand with blue lightning, the son of Lord Chuxuan rushed at Yi Chen, but he instantly lit a flame in his hand and did not retreat, meeting the attack head-on. The crowd of aristocrats laughed at the insolence of the disciple who challenged the son of the Holy Lord, because Chuxuan is much stronger. As it turned out in this world, the levels of power are divided into the power of the body, 1, the sea of spirits, 2, the palace of the soul, 3, holy power, 4, great power, 5, wise lord, 6, feudal lord, 7, ruler, 8, and the god of emptiness, 9. Yi Chen was able to easily deflect the hare's blow, and the crowd was surprised by this, because he was weaker than the son of the Lord. Watching this, Gu Chang realized that the student is a typical main character. He demonstrates amazing abilities to the public, wants to prevent the Lord from giving his daughter, who should be a typical lover of the main character, to marry him. While the fight is suspended, Gu Chang decides to ask the future bride a question and at the same time say that he guesses about their relationship with the student, but admits that she is an intelligent woman, since she understands that it is better not to tell anyone. When the young master runs out of tea and King Yu tried to pour him more, he told her to leave it to the servants, because it is impossible to allow the refined female fingers to be burned while kissing her hand. Suddenly, a system notification appears that King's opinion has changed, which is why Yi Chen lost 10 points of luck and Gu Cheng, on the contrary, they were credited. Well, it's getting interesting. Inflamed by jealousy, Yi Chen shouts at Gu Cheng, how dare he touch King Yi? But Chu Xuan reminds him that he is now his opponent. Angrily looking at Chu Xuan, the disciple asks if he is sure that Yi Chen will not dare to kill him just because he is a holy son. Gu Cheng thought about it. According to the scenario, Yi Chen should have a hard time defeating Chu Xuan, and then he should be almost killed by him. But at the last moment, he would be able to escape. With his talent in cultivation, he would take revenge in a few years, and when that time comes, the young master will most likely die. But since he travels between worlds and epochs, how can he not know the classic scenario? He decides to make his own edits to it, and not trust his life to some scenario. Gu Cheng got up from his seat, saying that he was tired of all this. At the same moment, with the help of his abilities, he quickly appeared in front of Yi Chen, saying that if it concerns him, then there is no need to disturb the Holy Sun. The disciple stated that he was not afraid of Mr. Gu, but he himself believes that the reason for Yi Chen's fearlessness is ignorance. Using his talents, Gu Cheng created a wave of magical power, so powerful that the door to the throne room barely held, and the disciple fell to his knees in front of the master. The guests of the festival, who also fell under this wave, were amazed by the strength of the young master, calling him a man from the upper world. Even King found it difficult to stay on his feet. Gu Cheng saw a system notification in front of him, which said that if he hit the Sun of Luck in public, he would lose 10 points of luck, while Cheng himself would be credited with 50 status points. He thought about this way of getting points and decided to go into his thoughts unnoticed by the others to talk to the system. She said that if Gu Cheng kills the disciple now, then he may be lucky and heaven will protect him, but with his current luck he risks, because it can turn against the owner. Mr. Gu's current strength is quite enough to kill Yi Chen, but it will entail irreversible changes, and Mr. Gu himself is one of such changes. Cheng realized that it would not be possible to kill him now, but if he just reduced the student's luck now, the consequences could be reduced to 0, and his master would kill him later. Having also received information from the system that later the main villain will be able to kill not only Yi Chen, but also everyone associated with the main character, Gu Cheng returns to reality. In the throne room, everyone admires the young master's strength, even the emperor, but Gu Cheng himself modestly says that his strength is not worth mentioning. Chu Xuan apologizes to him for having to intervene, but the young master says that everything is fine. But the disgraced Yi Chen doesn't think so. He decides to attack him surreptitiously. However, Cheng seals the space, stopping the student's fist right in front of his face, and without even touching him, throws him against the column. The outraged audience begins to condemn the disciple, and the elders decide to throw Yi Chen into prison, blocking his powers. Satisfied with what is happening, Cheng returns to his seat, simultaneously offering King to meet with him a little later. Her father is responsible for her, reminding his daughter that the fate of their sect for the next 100 years depends on her future husband, and asks her to be obedient. This breaks Chen's heart, and he loses as many as 100 points, and Gu Cheng is credited with 500 status points. Yeah, the system doesn't really like this guy. From the roof of one of the buildings of the palace complex, an unknown figure of a man watches the conversation between Su King and her father. The girl understands that compared to Gu Chengji Yi Chen, no one will be able to behave the same way with him, so she decides to go to the master first. The unknown, having heard everything he was interested in, moves to his master's chambers. Gu Cheng sits quietly in his seat, meeting an unknown person, his servant. He asked how the investigation was going, to which the man replied that the Lord of Taijuan told his daughter the whole truth, that the sacred land of Taijuan is weak now, and their strongest elder died 300 years ago, which is not yet known to the rest of the world. In addition, the servant said that the Lord's wife, a noble woman from the upper world, was captured by the authorities and sent back. Using King, the emperor wanted to contact the Lord to find out where his wife was now. Cheng says with a smile on his face that he was right and asks the servant to also look after Yi Chen, who is currently locked in a dungeon. The servant thinks that his master is interested in Yi Chen, but he replies that he only needs the luck of the disciple, after which the servant leaves. Left alone with himself, Gu Cheng thinks how tiresome it is to play two different characters at once, but immediately he receives an alert from the system that he has successfully passed the beginner stage, for which he was given a gift. After opening it, the young master received a talisman that destroys spells, a 5-colored magic cape, and a third of the broken world seed, which interested him the most. From the system, he learns that when the world seed is fully collected, it can be used to cultivate the boundless world inside his own body, to form his own life and death. This interested Chang, and he decided to raise his level by asking the system to give him points. At the same moment, a huge energy began to accumulate around him, which splashed out in the form of a column of light into the sky, terrifying not only ordinary citizens but also the inhabitants of the palace with its power. At the same time, Su King, who was watching this picture from the gazebo, suddenly heard the voice of the soul that is enclosed in her body, which convinces her that Gu Chang is unflappable, unshakable, and very strong, much better than Yi Chen. Gu Chang is in his chambers enjoying the information he has received and rejoices that as long as the system exists, he can freely earn points and opportunities to take everything away from Yi Cheng. In the dungeon, Yi Chen is still angry and does not understand what is happening, because during all this time he has been able to achieve a lot, and now he has come to the point that he is sitting in a dungeon. At the same moment, the spirit of a beautiful woman, enveloped in red flames, was released from the ring on his finger. Yi Chen was surprised by the appearance of the spirit, and calling her a master, asked where she had been before and why she had not come to help. She explained that at that moment a powerful bend of divine thought had been created, and she suspected that the enemy behind her fall was involved in this, so she did not show up. She chastises the disciple for his recklessness, and he in turn believes that the master wants Yi Chen to give up Su King. The master warns the student that Gu King has a terrifying story and strong people are behind him, that they have no chance of winning, but the guy doesn't care. With sadness in his thoughts, the master notices that the student is still immature and does not know how to take lessons from life situations. But in the hearing she says that now their main task is to get Chen out of prison, for which the student has an idea. As you know, the outside world does not know about the death of the Supreme Elder yet. If the master brings this to the rest of the clans who want to get the dragon vein on which the holy land of Taixuan stands, they will come to appropriate the lands for themselves and chaos will break out during the battle, which will help him escape from the dungeon unnoticed. The master warns that in this case the holy land will be destroyed, but Yi Chen does not care. He only wants revenge. Gu Chang and Su King are talking in one of the gazebos of the palace complex. The girl is surprised by the young master's stories about the upper world, and the spirit whispers to her that Mr. Gu is much better than Yi Chen. Gu Chang suggested that King herself go and check if the higher world is as big as they say about it, to which the girl says that she does not have enough strength, but Chang says that the highest level of strength in this world is only one of the steps for the higher world. King asks if she still decides to go to the upper world, will the Lord be able to protect her? When he does not understand what the girl is talking about, she says that she is ready to serve the master in any way she can. A system alert pops up in front of Gu Chang that King's temperament has changed, which is why Yi Chen's luck has decreased by 40 points, adding 200 Chang points. At that moment, he realized that if the relationship of the character associated with the Son of Luck changed, then Yi Chen would lose points of luck, and Chang, on the contrary, would receive, which makes his stay here even easier. He decides to ask directly if King likes him, or if she is just making herself a victim for the sake of saving Yi Chen. The girl justifies herself by saying that she just wants to apologize for the situation during the day and is unable to influence the situation with Yi Chen. He cares about her father's interests, and she is ready for anything. The girl even revealed to the gentleman the secret that she has a 9-yin body. At this second, another system alert says that because of this outburst of King's sincerity, Yi Chen's luck was reduced by 40 points, adding 200 Chang status points. The young master asks why she revealed such a huge secret to him, to which King replies that this is nothing compared to the millennia of hard work of her family, and is ready to give all of herself to the master if it helps her clan. Gu Chang is pleased with this and asks the system if using such an opportunity to destroy Yi Chen, will his luck turn against Chang. The system's response was that most likely, if Su King and Yi Chen went further, they would both suffer from a negative luck reaction. Gu Chang asks if King is afraid to reveal such a secret to him, to which the girl replies that she wants to believe in the sincerity of his intentions. The young gentleman gets up and, turning his back to the girl, says that he will pretend that he has not heard about the girl's physique, but her attempts to impress him were in vain. King jumps up and wants to grab Chang by the sleeve of her clothes, but he throws her hand away, telling her to behave herself and leaves. The spirit of King appears next to her and says that Gu Chang is a real mystery, since he did not even fall for the beauty of King, and the girl thought that for all the time she and Chang were together, he never did anything wrong for her, and she treated him unfairly. The girl hopes that the young gentleman will not be offended by her. Gu Chang receives a system notification that Su King's opinion of him has changed, which is why his luck points have increased by 20 and his status points by 100, just at the time when he decides to visit Yi Chen in the dungeon. There, his servant reports to his master that Yi Chen really has the rest of the soul of a strong man who wanted to follow him. Noticing the uninvited guest, Yi Chen gets angry, asking why he came, but Cheng says that he does not need a disciple, but the spirit of a strong warrior who decided to follow him. Chen tries to pretend that he does not understand what he is talking about, but the young gentleman says that everything is written on his face and appeals directly to the spirit, asking him to come out. Appearing, the master said that she did not want to be hostile and asked why Gu Chang had come. He replied that he had come only out of curiosity and wanted to find out what Yi Chen was interested in the Great Spirit, since she had chosen a disciple as her master. Yi Chen gets angry again, saying how dared Chang belittle his master and take away King from him. But the young master replies that King left herself, after which he breaks the wooden cage and comes closer to the prisoner and his spirit. Approaching, he tells the spirit that if she is really doing everything for the well-being of her master, then you should not stop, and reminded that the rest of the soul of even the strongest person is not immortal in this world. After that, the young master offers the spirit to join him in exchange for physical form and former strength. Yi Chen lost his temper and yelled at the gentleman to mind his own business. At the same moment, a system notification popped up in front of Gu Chang that due to the negative mood, Yi Chen's luck decreased by 20 points, and Chang's status points increased by 100 points. The young master continued to try to lure the soul to his side, but she was adamant, because Yi Chen helped her in a difficult situation. After the refusal, Gu Chang decides to leave, but before that he gives the spirit time to think and leaves a small present for her, a sacred medicine for the cultivation of an ancient soul. After Gu Changji leaves, Yi Chen expresses his dissatisfaction with Mr. Master and reproaches her for allegedly bending under his enemy because of some pathetic pill. The indignant spirit says that she is trying to help Chen get out, to which he replies that if that were the case, the master has long told everything that the disciple asked her to. The spirit has no choice but to agree to this and disappear into thin air. Gu Chang receives an alert from the system that the relationship between Yi Chen and his master is collapsing, which is why his luck has dropped by 80 points and Chang's status points have increased by 400. The servant asks the master why he won't just kill Yi Chen, to which Gu Chang asks if the servant remembers exactly why they went to the lower world, and says that all of the journey there was only for the most ancient weapon of the demon god, the devil's halberd. According to Chang's calculations, Yi Chen will definitely stumble upon the ancient ruins and find a relic there, then meet with a bunch of soldiers guarding it and turn the situation to his advantage, with the help of the relic, and, without knowing it, become a personal treasure hunter for Chang. The young master gives the order to keep an eye on Yi Chen while he is busy, and the servant disappears into thin air of the bow. At the same time, Chang decides to open a system store and see if there is anything worthwhile there. After finding the right skill, he bought it. 3 days later, trouble unfolded in the sky over the ancient court of the dynasty of the Sun. The leaders of the 3 clans decided to seize the Holy Land, but the saint ruling here will not just give it up, hoping for the help of young Mr. Gu, thinking that if he does not come out, then the Lord will have to die here. Due to the constantly escalating situation, King decides to go to Chang and ask him to come out and protect the Holy Land, and at this time, one of the clan heads decides to attack the Lord Sutexuan, but the attempt was interrupted by a powerful release of energy. The heads were surprised, because they did not know from whom it came and already doubted the death of the elder. But, as it turned out, such a powerful wave is only the result of the fact that Genghis has experienced a new technique for himself. So King lands smoothly right in front of the door to Gu Chang's chambers and was about to run to him, but was grabbed from behind without a chance to call for help. The girl was very scared, but over the ear of Yi Chen's familiar voice, the fear was replaced by surprise and incomprehension as to how he still managed to get out. But the disciple takes King by the hand and wants to take him away from here, saying that now we need to stay away from Taixuan. But the girl was against it. She pulled her hand away and said she didn't intend to run away. Chen is surprised and asks if King really believes that Gu Chang will be able to save the Holy Land, or if the lady is simply under his pressure. King is angry and claims that the young master does not influence her in any way. On the contrary, she is trying to make him fall in love with her and thus save the Holy Land. She asks why Yi Chen decided that Gu Chang is bad and she will run away with Yi Chen. King says that the Holy Land has been taking care of Yi Chen for 10 years and he could at least try to do something for her, especially at such a moment, and that Yi Chen's boundless selfishness and self-righteousness are disgusting to her. This fully develops the disciple's heart, and he says that this is not the king he knows, that Gu Chang has bewitched her. At this time, Chang receives a system notification that Yi Chen's luck has dropped by 50 points and Chang's own status points have increased by 250. He decided it was time to act. There was a creaking sound behind King and Yi Chen, causing both of them to tense up. King decided that it was impossible for the young master to see her with Yi Chen, and creating a sword, she pierced his shoulder. The student was surprised by such an act, but when the girl said that she had to break off all relations with him, he promised that this was not the end, and having healed his wound with the help of a red flame, disappeared somewhere on the roofs of the palace. At that moment, King heard the young master's voice behind her. She apologized, saying that she had let him down, but Chang only praised her, warning that next time he and Yi Chen would have to fight to the death, and asked if the girl would regret it. After receiving a negative answer, the young gentleman hugged King and said that now all her affairs concern him too, and he thought that now that all her relations with Yi Chen were broken, one could not be indifferent to her, and her high level of luck would be useful to Chang. At that moment, he received another notification from the system that his luck points had increased by 60 and his status points by 300. It seems that he has discovered a new way to earn points, not by oppressing the son of luck, but by subjugating people with a high level of luck. In the sky above the palace, doubts about the death of the elders pushed the leaders of the sects to break into the palace and still see what or who caused such a fluctuation of spiritual power. Before they could even make a dash, Gu Chang appeared in front of them, arrogantly asking what kind of barbarians were bothering him. Seeing the young master in front of him, General Xiaoho began to laugh at Su Taixuan, saying that the holy land of Taixuan had fallen low, since their only hope was the succor. Vladika warns him not to insult Chang, because the general will not be able to cope with him. Ignoring Su Taixuan's words, the general attacked, but was easily stopped by Chang, who broke his arm and threw him several meters away. The clan leaders were surprised by the son of a young man and could not believe that there could be a master of such a level in the Holy Land, and even such a young one. But despite this, the self-confident generals decided to immediately attack Chang in order to defeat him and capture the dragon Veen. He beat off the sword of the first general and the second, but he could not dodge the tower of the highest beginning. The attack of the third. The old men were already rejoicing at the victory over the arrogant and talented youngster, and wanted to enter the Holy Lands to pick up the dragon bane, but after a couple of minutes of their joys, the tower began to crack, and then completely collapsed with an explosion. Changji stood at the epicenter as if nothing had happened. He said that in a world in which there have been only a handful of masters of the level of a wise ruler, and even more so a feudal lord, for him all those below the level of the god of emptiness are just pathetic weaklings. Having said that, Gu Chang created a destructive wave that destroyed almost the entire army of the three generals in a matter of seconds. Amazed by the strength of the young man, one of the generals decides to ask who he is, to which Chang replies that he is an immortal from the higher world. 2 weeks after the attempted attack, news was already circulating throughout the suburb that Gu Chang had come from the upper world. A bunch of locals discussed this topic with interest, saying that it is very difficult to ascend to the upper world, but for someone to want to descend is generally against the laws of nature. They discussed that despite the elder's death, with Gu Chang's help, the holy land of Taixuan is really very strong. At some point the conversation touched on Su King, and then one of the campaigners remembered Di Chen, who according to them tried to fight for her with the gentleman to no avail, but in the end Chang scared him so much that he fell to his knees and could not even move. The second one added that Yi Chen, who looked like an ugly duckling, coveted a beautiful swan. King. Their conversation was heard by a man in a raincoat passing by, and literally in a second a flame broke out under the feet of the speakers. The man in the cloak turned out to be Yi Chen, who decided to take revenge on Gu Chang and the whole Holy Land for the shame. In the throne room of the palace, all the high-ranking people gathered, among whom were Chang, King, and 3 generals. Everyone praises Su Taixuan for the fact that under his leadership, the Holy Land is in its prime. The Lord says that the reason for everything is Gu Chang. The same idea is picked up by 3 generals and promised to support the head of the Holy Land. King, who was sitting next to Chang, laughed at their words. When the young gentleman asked what was the reason for her fun, she replied that all the heads are already 1,000 years old, and they behave like 3-year-old children. Soon a maid comes up to them and informs them that the 3rd prince of the great Xi dynasty from Zhangzhou has sent them an invitation to discuss further political course. When Chang asked what kind of Xi dynasty it was, King said that the spiritual riches of the Zhangzhou royal family and their power were incomprehensible. According to rumors, one of their masters was even able to ascend to the upper world, and when the 3rd prince was born, he turned out to be so gifted that the news about it spread for 3,000 li. During the story, Chang remembered that according to the mark he left on the gift to the fire spirit, Yi Chen is currently in Zhangzhou. Having made a decision, he tells King to get ready, because they are going to visit the prince in 3 days. As soon as King leaves, his servant Ming Lao appears in front of the young master. Mr. Gu asks him to remind him whether he ascended in Zhangzhou. Ming Lao says with a bow that it was from this place that he ascended and was captured by a great sect and sent to mine holy ore. If the head of the family had not rescued him, he would have died at the mine long ago. After listening to the rest of the story, Chang says that in 3 days he is going to Zhangzhou and Ming Lao is going with him and will be able to see the family. Ming Lao thanks the owner and disappears. 3 days later, there is a lecture at the academy in the Middle Sky area. A student fell asleep on one of the back desks. His classmates openly say that studying with him is just a shame, and if he wasn't from the ancient Lin family, and his sister wasn't an elder of the academy, then he wouldn't be here. Because of the teacher's indignation, the negligent student wakes up screaming that His Majesty does not agree. Classmates laugh at him, but the student does not seem to understand what happened and asks who they are and what kind of place this is. His classmate explains that he is in the sky blue world, in the great land of Zhangzhou, which is in the territory of the middle sky. The student, thinking for a second, realizes that he did not die, but was reborn in another body, but his joy is quickly overshadowed by the teacher, asking how long he will interfere with the lesson, and reminds that if he does not move to the next level this month, even the influence of his family will not help him to stay here. But the disciple, as if substituted, says that half a day is enough for him, and then he will mercilessly trample on everyone who does not respect him. At that moment, the sky erupted with lightning, and Gu King, who was on a ship in the sky, received a system notification that a new child of luck had been discovered. The elder gathered all the people close to him and announced that he had felt the aura of their ancestor, Lin Ming, who ascended 30,000 years ago, and that the Lin family had a chance for rebirth. On the deck of his ship, Gu Chang talks to the system, asking what level of luck Yi Chen has now and the difference between his level and that of a disciple. Having received the answer that as the young master's luck increases, the effect of punishment weakens, Chang concludes that because of the extraordinariness of the heavenly Tao, it is really difficult to protect the chosen ones. He wonders about his black luck, but while everything is under control and there is another simpleton who can be influenced, everything is going as well as possible. You just need to be patient. King appears on the deck, whose luck points have increased to 400, but Chang's own points have risen with them. He asks to tell the girl about this place. During the story, Chuk Swan also appears, who tells the gentleman to take the meeting as a joke. In one of the districts, the news is spread that the ancestor of the Lin family has returned to the lower world. People are surprised by this, because the barrier has been sealed for several thousand years. But it is said that the chief elder of the Lin family opened the ancestral temple to personally announce it. Yi Chen, who happened to be in this place, also heard about this. He thought that if he didn't have more important things to do, he might have stayed. At this time, he heard the voice of the master, who reminded him that the ancient family has a huge spiritual heritage, but Chen himself keeps many secrets. He agreed with the spirit and thought that the most important thing now was to find the relic. People gathered near the ancestral temple to see the ancestor, but they did not understand what kind of man in white clothes was sitting at the head. Hai Lao thanked Chang with a bow for the opportunity to talk to his relatives, to which the young master said not to pay attention to him and talk to them, because they are unlikely to return here. People were surprised that their ancestor called Mr. Gu Mr. and he, in order not to embarrass the old servant, decided to take a walk with King. Already at the exit, the current head of the family told his daughter, Tuyuan, to accompany the gentleman, since she knows the area well. This was observed by the same student from the academy, and noticed that the former owner of his current body was trying to achieve this girl, and wondered when love affairs began to affect his psyche so much, since he is a killer of divine kings. He noticed that King had a 9-yin body, and realized that this was what he needed, and at the same time, he could cure the love longing of this body. He did not think that the gentleman who is talked about so much has so much luck and regrets that this body was given to him. At this time, Chang, who wanted to go in search of the child of fortune, did not expect that he himself would come to him. He has not done anything to him yet, and does not understand why this young man is already so hostile to him. He realized that this was about that human girl, and hoped that the child of fortune would entertain him properly in the future. Kuan was talking about her brother, and Gu Chang asked why she thought he was a loser. She replied that she believes her brother has no talent for cultivation and hopes only for his origin. No matter how much she would like to justify him, she does not succeed. Chang considered her brother a poor child, but she said that he had recently started actively cultivating. From her words, Chang began to think that someone had moved into his body, because such drastic changes could not happen to a person for just one night. Kuan said that he easily moved to the next level and discovered an extraordinary talent for alchemy. Recently, he even pointed out the mistake of Elder Eye. The young gentleman believes that since he was able to change, then all the efforts of the girl were not in vain. He understood how his sister cares about him, and no matter how strict she was to him, she only wished him well. Chang thinks it's good that now Lin Tian will be able to improve his reputation, and for sure he was just an uncut diamond, and believes that after only a couple of days he already points out the mistakes of the elders, then he has a huge talent. The girl doubts her brother's talent, because before he could not even rise to the next level. Chang decided to put a little pressure on the girl, and asked how then her brother could practice alchemy if their family did not have any secret knowledge. Now Lin Kuan is beginning to be suspicious of his brother's changes, and it will be much easier for Chang to catch a new child of luck than he imagined. At the same moment, a system notification pops up in front of him about the rules for killing a child of luck without luck points. According to him, if you kill a child of luck with 0 points, you can get an additional reward from heaven from the system. This interested Gu Changji, and since He Chen is not showing himself in any way, he decided to take on Lin Tian. In the evening, Lin Kuan baked spiritual cookies and came to Gu Chang and Su King to treat them. King politely thanked her and Kuan called, but King realized that the girl had fallen in love with Chang from the very first time they met. Behind her, she heard the voice of a young gentleman who asked if King was jealous. She replied that she had no right to demand the love of her master, and it did not matter whether she was jealous or not. She added that if the young master was so pleased, he could leave Lin Kuan by his side. Lin Kuan was returning home through the alley and saw her brother ahead of her, who called her. She wondered what he was doing here, but he did not answer, asking if his sister had gone to Mr. Gu. The girl replied that it was none of his business and wanted to pass by her brother. Then he grabbed her by the hand and said that Gu Chang was a terrible person, and she should not be guided only by his appearance. She got angry and said that Chang is very tactful, polite, and modest, and simply cannot be a bad person, and the brother should try to achieve at least 1% of all the qualities of the young master. The guy got angry and said that his sister was stupid for not seeing the obvious, but she said that her brother had been acting very strangely lately, and even if everything was as Lin Tian said, then why would Mr. Gu with his high status have to deal with her? Finally, she told her brother to do his own business better, and she thought about her brother's changes, because along with his craving for cultivation, his Kai also grows. She remembered that she forgot to ask how he learned alchemy, because before he could not be forced to study, and now he practices all day, and maybe someone is teaching him. At this time, Gu Chang receives a notification from the system, which says that Lin Kuan is beginning to be suspicious of the abrupt changes in his brother's character. That lowers Lin Tian's luck by 50 points, and Chang gets 250 status points. Everything is going as planned by the young master, and if this continues, then Lin Tian will not stand it and attack him. In a dark forest in the middle of the night, Lin Tian performs some kind of spell. He wanted to wait for the right moment to get closer to Su King, and only then deal with Gu Chang, but the young master decided to stand between Tian and his sister, which is why the obsession of that body prevents the killer of heavenly kings. He decided to summon the heavenly demons of the other world to kill Gu Chang. The demons who came went to Chang, and the tired Lin Tian somehow managed to finish the spell with his current level of strength. He is sure that with 15 years of life sacrificed to the demons, when the demons get to the young master, if he is lucky, he will remain a cripple. The demons were rushing straight towards Gu Chang and he felt it, but he remained calm as always. He knew exactly what spell Lin Tian had cast and was sure that the guy would only disgrace himself by sending his spell against him. Having created an energy phantom, Chang quickly stopped the spell, but its echoes were felt by the descendants of the Lin clan and began to worry about the young master. As soon as the spell was dispelled, Lin Tian, who was currently in some old house, lost most of his energy and could barely move, bleeding on the wooden floor. In his chambers, a satisfied Gu King did not expect that a demonic spell of this level would be able to strengthen his spirit so much and prolong his life. The system informed the young master that Lin Tian's lifespan had significantly decreased, which caused his luck to decrease by 150 points, adding 750 Chang status points. The young master is pleased that he didn't even have to do anything, and Lin Tian himself presented him with his years of life as a gift, thereby turning himself into his toy. At this rate, the child of luck will drive himself to death. Voices were heard outside, asking the master to punish them for not being able to protect them. Outside, Chang noticed his faithful servant, Ming Lao, and his family members kneeling in front of the door. The old servant asked the young master to punish him for not being able to apprehend the criminal. King also came out to the noise, asking if everything was all right. Chang assured everyone that a spell of this level is absolutely harmless to him, but he would really like to know who in the lower world is able to use such a technique. Ming Lao said that since the spell is broken, the person who used it must be injured. The current head of the clan said that he would send all his people to search and they would find the criminal. Lin Kuan knocks on the door of the old house where her brother is currently staying to inform that a big trouble has occurred, and the head of the family gathers everyone for discussion. But Lin Tan did not answer. The source of his power has been too badly damaged, and he can't even walk. He knew that if he was seen in such a state, everyone would understand that he was the one who attacked the young master. But he can't accept that he, the heavenly killer of divine kings, will just be defeated like that. Kuan says that if her brother does not open it, then she herself will enter and an idea arises in the young man's head. Since the essence has possessed Lin Chan's soul for quite a long time, it only needs to stop his pulse and the guy will die, and no one will be able to detect the essence. Somehow rising to his knees, he tore the heart out of his body. As soon as it happened, Lin Kuan walked in and was shocked when she saw it. In the morning, everyone gathered again at the ancestral temple. Ming Lao apologized to the gentleman again, asking for punishment for not having had time, but Gu Chang only wondered if they had found the culprit or not. At these words, all the members of the Lin family visibly darkened. The head of the clan said that the culprit was a boy from his family, Lin Tian. They found him lying in a pool of his own blood with his heart torn out. People from the Lin family were kneeling in front of Gu Chang, and the head of the family kept saying that he did not keep track and Chang needed to punish him. He said that Lin Tian's attempt to kill the young master was a disgrace to their entire clan. Chang thought about it and realized that there was no point in the fact that the child of fortune committed suicide after he failed to kill Chang. In addition, the system did not send an alert of Lin Tian's death, which means that in fact he just pretended to be dead. Members of the Lin family whispered among themselves that Lin Tian brings them only troubles, and even though he died, he offended the master, so the whole family will have to take the rap for it. But the head of the family and Lin Kuan were saddened by his death and reckless actions. The soul trapped in Su King's body was pleased with his power, because Gu Chang has not even done anything yet, and the Lin family is already in awe of him. Chang received a notification from the system that now the whole Lin family hates Lin Chan and his luck has dropped by 100 points, adding 500 Chang status points, and the last thing left for Tian is a connection with Lin Kuan. Ming Lao, kneeling in front of the young master, asked to punish him since Lin Tian, who committed such a terrible act, is his offspring and now the old servant can't even look into the master's eyes. But Chang interrupts his speech, saying that the situation is really strange, because according to Kuhan's stories, Tian was not very capable in cultivation and would hardly be able to kill him. But in the higher world, the transmigration of the soul from one body to another is a common thing. Even if it was done by Lin Tian's hands, but his family had nothing to do with it. Besides, according to Chang, he knows how to distinguish good from evil, and Old Man Hai has been following him for a long time, so he suggested just to forget about this incident. The Lin family members thanked the Lord for his mercy. He let everyone go, but said before that Lin Chan's body could not be cremated or buried. When everyone was leaving, Gu Chang approached Lin Kuan and offered to walk around the city with him. The girl, of course, agrees. The system warns Chang that if he can subdue the girl associated with the Son of Luck, he will receive her points. The young gentleman thought that a couple more tricks and Lin Kuan was already in his hands. The only thing he didn't know was whether she would be able to raise his luck points along with raising hers, as Su King does, or whether only a saint could do it. In any case, he will leave Kuan by his side for now, and then see what happens next. 3 days later, all the forces of the 8 territories headed to the Zhangjiao lands. People say that this is because the great ancestor of the Lin family has returned to this world, and with him also a mysterious young gentleman from the upper world to enlighten everyone, and the one who finds himself in friendly relations with him will immediately be able to make a career and surpass all 8 forces. Because of this, even the meeting about the political course was moved to the ancient city where the Lin family lived. It is said that even the ancient clans hiding in the sacred mountains came out to meet the Lord. In the banquet hall where the reception was to take place, 2 friends, Jin Yang and Zhang Tian, met and talked. Zhang Tian said that since their last meeting, Jin Yang's skill had greatly increased, and he in turn admired the fact that Zhang Tian had mastered the precious art of holy power. Suddenly, Zhang Tian remembered that his friend had recently engaged in a fight with an outstanding man from Dongwang, after which they became friends and even called themselves brothers. Jin Yang, who is the son of the emperor of the Holy Land of Jello, proudly replied that such talented people can only be met once in 1,000 years. According to him, the mysterious master is only in the middle of the 4th level, but he fought very bravely. The prince even had to use his true body to subdue him. His friend was surprised and asked if there were still such talented people in the world, to which Jin Yang said that it was immediately obvious that his friend had great talent, and he had a great mission ahead of him. But because he had crossed the path of some important gentleman, he now had to hide in the land of Zhangzhou. The friend seemed to understand something and asked if he was talking about the same person, about whom there are rumors that he rolled his lip and became jealous of that very gentleman. Jin Yang only got angry at such a statement and said that it was all lies and that girl herself betrayed and went to a more influential person, and they just decided to make his friend a scapegoat. Surprised by the story of the named brother, Zhang Tian asked the name of his friend, because he himself would like to meet this person. But before Jin Yang could say anything, Bu Chang, Su King, and Lin Quan entered the hall, accompanied by an elder of the Lin family. People started whispering that the girl in red is most likely the arrogant head of Lin Quan Academy, and the girl in blue is probably from the holy land of Taixuan. Then the man in white clothes must be the same gentleman. One of Jin Yang's friends said that he did not expect to see this man here, and he should definitely come up to say hello. But Jin Yang was not very happy to see the young gentleman. Gu Chang, Su King, and Lin Quan admired the views from the terrace of the palace together. Chang said that looking from such a height at the crowd of people below, it seems that you can grab all 9 heavens with one hand, and that the person who built this palace really knew how to enjoy life. Unexpectedly for everyone, Lin Quan asked what Chang thought cultivation was. He answered without hesitation that it was just a way of competing in this world. He said that the body is a raft, and this whole mortal world is the sea and waves that hinder the achievement of the goal on the other shore. Kuan was impressed with such deep thoughts and suggested that the cultivation of the higher world holds many secrets and riddles. Gu Chang suggested that the girl go to the upper world, since she wanted to find out so much, but she refused, saying that she did not dare after what her brother had done. The young master said that if this guilt was gnawing at her and she wanted to atone for it, then he would have a task for her. She will have to follow her brother's body, because Chang feels that he was not just controlled, but some unknown being possessed him, because there are many such techniques in the higher world, and resurrection is not something impossible. Kuman was shocked, because when she found her brother, his arteries were severed, and his heart was lying nearby. And then she realized that her brother had most likely pretended to be dead. Chang said that this was just his guess, but it was better to observe, and he thought that if Lin Quan saw his brother's resurrection with his own eyes, then their connection would be completely severed. Lin Chan would lose his luck points, and Chang would no longer be needed. The elder was distracted from his thoughts, who said with a bow that young disciples from all 8 territories had come to greet Chang, and the young master said that since they were here, then let them rise. The students, princes, and princesses bowed in front of Chang, formally introducing themselves, but the young master said that they could not stand on ceremony. Lin Quan was surprised to notice that these arrogant leaders who usually try to show their strength are now going out of their way to please the young master, and all these saints and princesses have subdued their pride and are courteous to him. But Chang was not touched by any of their bows. She notices that he treats her differently. Although he occupies a high position, he is very gentle and kind to Quan. Chang received a system notification that the submission of Lin Quan's luck was completed and the young master's luck increased by 200 points and status points by 1,000 points. Thanks to Su King and Lin Quan, Gu Chang's luck level now exceeds 300 points, and his cultivation is at the very top of the lower world, so he decided to keep the status points in case of unforeseen situations. He decides to teach Lin Quan, because the makings of alchemy were visible in the cookies that they brought him and King, and he thought it would be nice to give her an initial course of alchemy at an opportunity, and how much she will advance in this will depend on her. Suddenly the system showed a random task, which said that a new person connected with the Son of Fate had been discovered, and in order to receive Chang's reward, it was necessary to somehow put pressure on him. Having concluded that since the task appeared right now, then this person is here. He decided to find out by contacting Chu Xuan and asking if there was any news about Yi Chen and Zhangzhou. Emperor Taixuan's son hesitated with an answer, and Chang realized that there was no news. People started whispering about Yi Chen, trying to find out from each other who he was, but everyone agreed only that he had somehow offended the master. Yu, one of Jin Yang's friends, compared some facts and realized that the outstanding person his friend was talking about was the Yi Chen the gentleman was looking for. He decided to tell them that he had heard that Jin Yang, the son of the emperor of the Holy Land of Jiaolu, was acquainted with an outstanding person from the eastern lands, and this person might well be the one who needed the master. Jin Yang was afraid that the gentleman had found out, and Cheng asked what was the name of this acquaintance of Jin Yang. There was talk in the crowd that Jin Yang was scared, and could really be related to Yi Chen. Cheng took the prince's silence as a statement and asked again, but the crown prince replied that he did not understand who he was asking about. Cheng realized that Jin Yang had lied to him, and at the same moment a powerful energy wave swept through the room. This startled everyone present, and Yu realized that he was in a hurry to brag, and it would be very bad for him if Jin Yang dragged him into this matter. A frightened Jin Yang says that he really has a friend named Yi Chen, but when Gu Cheng asks where he is now, he replies that he cannot tell. At this time, Yu realized that the smell was fried, and telling Jin Yang that he was crazy, hurried to justify himself to the gentleman, saying that Yi Chen had messed up his friend's brains, otherwise he would never have behaved like an idiot for no reason. But Jin Yang interrupted him, saying that Yi Chen is his sworn brother, and he knows perfectly well what kind of person he is. Addressing the gentleman, he asked if there was a misunderstanding between him and Yi Chen, but it was a mistake. Cheng was angry at such impudence, and saying that the prince had no right to ask him counter-questions, magically forced him to kneel. At that moment, a man ran up to Jin Yang and said that the young man did not know what he was doing and asked Gu Cheng to forgive him, but he was adamant and called his servant, who immediately came. People were surprised that Cheng had an ancestor of the Lin family in the ministry, who ascended 30,000 years ago. The young master said that from tomorrow he doesn't want to hear about the existence of the holy land of Jiaolu anymore. Old man Ming bowed and disappeared into thin air, and the two young men realized that this was the end for them. King and Kuhin were frightened and amazed at how the young master decided the fate of an entire empire with just one sentence. Right now, he was so majestic and cold, like a deity ruling over everything and everything. Cheng received a notification from the system about the successful completion of the task, which added 700 more status points to him. Meanwhile, in the holy land of Jiaolu, people watched as a rain of fire poured down on their land. Yi Chen, looking at the broken amulet that Jin Yang once gave him, regrets the fate of his friend and tells the newly appeared master not to even tell him to forget about the enmity with Gu Cheng. The Tianyuan kingdom will open soon, and then, with the help of a demonic artifact, he will definitely kill Gu Cheng. After all these events, Gu Cheng, in the company of Su King and Lin Kuan, decided to take a walk, and seeing the latter's reaction to this, asked if he had scared her. She answered yes, but added that she knew that the gentleman treated her well. Then, as an apology, Cheng decided to give her an initial course of alchemy. The girl was very pleased with the gift and thanked the young gentleman. 3 days later, when everyone has already started to leave for their empires, the head of the family thanks the elder and asks to put in a good word for him in front of Mr. Gu Cheng. Standing next to Kuan, she thought Cheng was so cold with others, but still maintains the Lin family's reputation. She remembered how Gu Cheng reacted when others disobeyed him, and taking this into account, she realized that Lin Chan really was no longer who he pretended to be, as Chenji had told her. However, she didn't understand why, after all that had happened, he was still condescending towards his family. Whatever it was, she still feels sorry for her brother. At the same time, Lin Chen's body, which was not buried or cremated on Gu Cheng's orders, began to show signs of life. One of the guards of the dungeon where Lin Chan's body was kept saw his resurrection and raised a panic because of the revived corpse. He immediately rushed to report this to the mistress, and she, asking what he was shouting about, told him to leave and went to the cell herself. When he came to himself, the spirit that is in the body of a young guy was relieved to notice that the body was well preserved. He planned to pretend that he had lost his memory and easily deceive everyone in order to finally kill Gu Cheng. Raising his head, he is surprised to see his sister and the young gentleman on the other side of the bars. Changji was giving off an insidious aura. Deciding to put his plan into practice, he began to shake his head from side to side and ask his sister about what he was doing here, because the last thing he remembers is how he was in class at the academy. Chang mentally noticed that Lin Tian was overplaying, but the young man was not confused by this in any way. Chen kept asking who the man was, what was standing next to his sister, and why he hadn't seen him before. An angry Lin Kuan shouts at her brother to stop and how in general can he lie to her now. Continuing to act out amnesia, the young guy asks what his sister is saying and that he doesn't understand anything. He does not understand what is happening at all and why he suddenly found himself locked in a dungeon. Seeing his sister's angry face, he asks what is wrong with her and says that he is her younger brother, Lin Tian. Why does she not believe him? To convince the girl, he began to tell how in childhood she resorted to him when the head of the family scolded her. He wanted to remember something else, but his sister rudely told him to shut up and not call her sister anymore. She asks who he is and where Lin Tian hid her. After these words, the guy begins to have a wild headache and his eyes turn red. He shouts that it's not him, the spirit, to get angry, because the boy decided to spoil this moment by trying to take over his body again. At that moment, Lin Kuan believed that it was him and began to worry about her brother. Holding his head, the spirit says that he never wished Kuan evil. So why is she now taking up arms against him along with Gu Chang? But Lin Chan's soul interrupts him, saying that this is his mistake. The spirit, again taking away the body, tells the soul of Tian to close his mouth, because how dare the pitiful remnant of obsession displace him from the body? The killer of divine kings. At the last moment, Lin Tian, who has regained his body, asks his sister to kill him and bloody tears begin to flow from his eyes. Gu Chang receives a notification from the system, which says that due to the fact that Lin Tian faced the resistance of the previous owner, he lost 200 luck points and Gu Chang's status points increased by 1,000. At this moment, the luck of the Son of Luck was completely exhausted, which activated the law of murder. Shocked, Lin Kuan steps back, but Gu Chang puts his hand on her shoulder and says that he knows that the girl will not do what her brother asks, so she better get out and he will deal with this monster himself. Bursting into tears, the girl runs away from the dungeon and Changdi, assuming his true bloodthirsty appearance, tells the spirit that Lin Kuan and Lin Tian are the closest relatives and asks if he knows why she did not bury his body. The enraged spirit says that Chang somehow guessed that he had faked death and asked what he was trying to achieve. Chang said what kind of goal could he have because it was the spirit that tried to kill him, and not the other way around, and how dare he still ask him questions. A very powerful energy begins to emanate from Gu Chang in a wave, which literally stretches to Lin Tian's body. The spirit recognized demonic Kai in this force and asked what Gu Chang was and how he knew this technique. But the young gentleman was right in front of him in an instant and, poking his finger in the middle of his forehead, said that the dead man did not need to know this. A second later, the young man's body falls lifelessly to the ground, and the rest of the soul of a strong master of the divine king level was enclosed in his body. Enjoying the power, Gu Chang said that this soul has a good taste and thanks to it, Chang's own strength has increased tremendously, but such demonic skill is unacceptable in this world, so until he is completely confident in it, it is impossible for anyone to find out about it. Chang sees an alert from the system in front of the 100th, which says that the child of fortune was killed using the law of murder. Because of this, he receives a heavenly prize ship with treasures and bonus 100 points of luck and 500 points of status. Also, the luck exchange function is now activated for him, according to which he can exchange luck points for status points in a ratio of 1:10. After learning this, Chang thinks that this new feature will be another trump card for him. After opening the chest, Gu Chang is rewarded with 3 luck theft cards, a third of the Broken World Seed and a multiplication card for calculating the reward system. The system explained that the luck theft card allows you to steal luck from the child of luck, but has a chance of failure, which depends on the condition of the child of luck. If the theft is successful, then all the luck points of the child of luck are reset to 0, and all his points go to Gu Chang. The system's reward calculation multiplication card can be used when the system calculates rewards, and then the additional reward will be equal to the one issued by the system. But the chance of an increase will be random, from 0.1, nothing, to double, triple, tenfold, or even 100-fold increase. Chang thought that he would be able to use this card when he killed Yi Chen. But it is extremely difficult to get a points theft card, and it costs as much as 10,000 status points in the system store, which means that in order not to go to a loss, you need to get at least 2,000 points of luck. From this, it can be understood that the luck points of the children of luck that Gu Chang may meet in the future will not be so small. Chang also received the heavenly Dao chest. From it, he received the halo of the child of fortune, which is in the process of transformation. A few seconds later, the halo of the child of fortune transformed into the halo of the fate of the heavenly villain. He also received the heart of the divine king. With the help of these 2 artifacts, fate identifies Gu Chang as a villain and allows you to ignore the difference in luck points when eliminating the children of luck. Chang was interested in all this, but if he immediately kills the children of luck, he will miss the opportunity to get more status points, so in the future, he will have to carefully consider his decisions and weigh all the cons and pros. The heart also holds the power of a master of the divine king level, which has been cultivated for about 10,000 years, so he decided to simply combine it with his body. After that, Chang was a little disappointed. The code of heavenly immortality increased by only 1 level, and suddenly as many as 3,000 status points were spent, and his cultivation level moved only to the last stage of the feudal lord. If Chan wants to go to the peak of the feudal lord's level, then he will have to spend more than 5,000 Solba points, but he has hit such a jackpot and does not intend to stop. He knew that the demonic halberd would also appear soon, and then he would be able to deal with Yi Chen. After all, Nami does not represent any benefit to the young master, and Gu Chang needs to prepare in advance for matters in the upper world. After coming out of the dungeon, Gu Chang met a crying Lin Qian there, and going up to her and wiping her tears, said that he had dealt with Lin Qian and the spirit of the master that had captured his body. Now it is necessary to bury the body of her brother, since the spirit may not have completely dissipated and otherwise he will have a chance to be reborn again. Qian burst into tears and said she understood the young master's words. 3 days before the meeting of the leaders of Zhangzhou to determine the political course, the old city of Chenyu. In one of the courtyards, the entities who were the leaders of the ancient clans hiding in the holy mountains gathered at a table. They were discussing the tragic death of the holy land of Jelu, and who this gentleman from the upper world was. Suddenly, a girl named Liuli appears in front of them, who says that it is not so important who this person is, but if he touches Brother Yi Chen, he will pay dearly for it. The clan leaders supported her, saying that even if the Lord is from the upper world, it does not matter to the ancient sacred mountain, and if he dares to touch Lady Liuli, they will not let it go. At that moment, the girl called her servant, Auntie Xu, and asked if there was any news about Yi Chen. She said that from the moment his spiritual ki fluctuated in Zhangzhou, she had not felt his aura for a long time, to which Liuli replied that it must have been difficult for Brother Chen. Auntie Xu said that Lady Liuli is destined to become a true phoenix that soars in the 9 heavens, and sooner or later she will return to the upper world, and Yi Chen will not go to the level of the god of emptiness in her whole life. Liuli replied that she knows that Auntie doesn't like Yi Chen, but she believes that he will become great. One day he told her not to bully him just because he was downstairs. Auntie agreed that his words were true. But what if he didn't reach this level, even in 30,000 years? There are people who are born with a certain destiny, and will never be able to overcome the limit laid down in the bottom by fate. Liuli told Auntie not to say that and wanted to see what kind of gentleman from the upper world was there. She assured him that if something bad happened, then let his servant of the level of the god of emptiness be afraid that Auntie Xu would intercede for her. With a sigh, the woman told the lady to calm down, because she would not let anyone hurt her. Gu Chang was looking at a ball in his mouth and said that Qian was doing well, because in a couple of days she had reached such a level in alchemy, to which the girl replied that it was only thanks to the book presented by the gentleman. Suddenly the previously clear sky was covered with clouds, and lightning broke out. Qian and Qingyi were surprised and did not understand what had happened. An elder of the Lin family with people close to him went outside to find out who dared to invade their ancient Lin family. They saw the leaders of the ancient clans who said they had come from the ancient sacred mountain to visit them. The elder was surprised, but asked what brought them here. Liuli, who came accompanied by entities, said to notify Mr. Gu Chang that this is Yi Chen's younger cousin, Yi Liuli, and she wants to see him. Elder Lin said that if they wanted to get to the meeting with the Lord, they would have to wait, because he needed to ask Mr. Gu Chang his permission. One of the entities said that with such words he insulted Lady Liuli and asked if their clan now had a chance to survive. As soon as he grabbed the head on his clothes, golden lightning immediately fell on him from the sky, and in a moment nothing was left of him. Suddenly, Gu Chang's voice was heard, who allowed the uninvited guests to enter.